Good morning, Mr. President.
Good morning.
This is one of a number of 15-minute discussions which we're going to have during the day and tomorrow as well to underscore and understand how sustainability is being embraced. Mr. President, in Rwanda, you are now the 153rd in vulnerability to climate change, according to the World Bank. And the World Bank says that you have a climate policy and planning environment which is fairly strong. But at the heart of what you're doing is the consciousness of the public, given what you're facing. What have you managed to do when it comes to the public and getting them engaged, picking up what we've just heard in the opening remarks about a culture of social responsibility?
Well, thank you. Let me begin by thanking, first of all, the UAE leadership, government, and people for bringing all of us here from different parts of the world to have this very important conversation. Back to the question, we in fact started very early, from about 15 years ago. Our planning, the policies, and going ahead with implementation of different things we could afford to do within even our limited resources. But the starting point, and which makes it all possible, one is to focus on people. First of all, how are people going to be affected by different things happening, some of which you may have control over, others not. But there are nonetheless things one can do. So we started with mobilizing people, and in a very simple way, because people are affected on a daily basis by different things that happen to them because of either consumption or what they produce in different sectors. And we were looking at, therefore, looking ahead. For example, we started from a situation where we had almost all our forests cut down, and for firewood, for different things. It's not just the suffering of people on other different kinds of things, but even their reaction towards how they live their lives. So we embarked on reforestation, for example, and we, in a very short time, restored more than 10% of forest cover in our country.
Because you were experiencing an enormous amount of depletion
Absolutely.
Of forests. I have a figure here of 12% lost
Yes.
between 2010 and 2015.
That's right. So we embarked on that and made very good progress. But we went ahead to look at many other things we could do that do not cost us much. For example, we banned use of plastic bags. And around that, we also looked at the alternatives. If you ban plastic bags, what are you going to therefore be using to do what the plastic bags were covering in this sense? So, which provided an opportunity for investment and business and activity for people, again, economic activity in replacing the plastic bags. And now we are, in fact, going ahead and also dealing with the single-use plastic bags.
How much do you think you've changed the culture in your country, literally by the one day a month where people have to clean up? That creates a movement and an awareness.
Absolutely.
How much can others learn from you on this, do you think?
Well, what we have learned ourselves is it's not enough to talk about good things and good policies when you are not actually doing what needs to be done in order to see the results. So what we did was first demonstrate that there are things within our own means that we can do to actually make a big difference. And in fact, the conversation was, do we need donors' money or do we need support from anywhere for us to be able to clean our own environment? And we said, no, we can clean our own environment, and on that we can build something new, something different, something better. So that's how it has changed. And it has gone down in the minds of people. Everyone has seen the benefits Of course, at the beginning, you don't have everyone understanding what needs to be done or the benefits of it. But once you get started, then you create a critical mass and of understanding as well as to actually what is happening and therefore the benefits of it. And from there, it increases to a level like where we are now, where it has more or less become a culture every month and every Saturday ending the month. We have, in fact, people no longer have to be mobilized to be able to do it. They just show up every time, and they are different. They are doing different things in their communities across the country. It's not just the city, one city or another. It's across the country. So
you are in Rwanda, a country in a hurry. It's 25 years since the genocide. You're a country in a hurry. You have difficult population challenges. But what is the contract that you've tried to build between you as the government, you as the president, and the country and the people who expect development, but also expect a new form of sustainability at the same time?
You see, it is very clear to my mind and to many leaders' minds that leaders won't bring results by themselves without getting people along to do what they need to do to play their own part and participate and benefit at the same time. So from the start, therefore, it has always been our method to talk to people, to have a conversation, to have them contribute, and also to participate in making sure that later on we are able to look back and say, look, this is where we have been, this is what we said we needed to do, and these are the results. So, and we use a particular case or a particular example to therefore mobilize them, the people, for the next thing that needs to happen. And there is a lot of consultation. So what we have also done to back that up is to make sure that leaders at different levels, in fact, sign contracts with the central government. We have a very highly decentralized system as well as the central government. So we sign contracts on different goals and targets that we have established, again, drawn from the people themselves. And then every end of the year, we sit in the parliament session that takes place particularly for that. All leaders come together, and then each one accounts for what we're supposed to do, what happened, did we meet the targets, did we not, what was the problem, so that the next time we're able to overcome that. And that involves as well what we need to do in the climate matters space. In every aspect, we consider that.
But what I'm trying to get at really, Mr. President, is the societal contract. The society is expecting significant economic development, stability which comes from that. You're a leader on IT. You're becoming a real center of excellence in Africa. But that has got to be done as well with a high degree of sustainability.
Right.
You're not retrofitting. You are now in a position where you can innovate and inaugurate new ideas.
Yes.
What are the big new ideas? Because you're trying to build, quote, a technical and managerial capacity now on sustainability and climate change.
It all comes from, as I said, mobilization. People have to mobilize around the idea of how a country, how a society exists and continues to exist, and also looks deeper into the future. And that, for us, that's what we have been doing from the start. And therefore, there is expectation from everybody as well as by everybody. But this means we therefore have to come together all the time. And in fact, many things build around. For example, we started from scratch 25 years ago. There was really nothing to speak of in our own country. So we created something over 25 years from nothing. But it happened because we were able to look each other in the eyes and say, you know what, there is something we can do. All is not lost. We are there. We can work together and create something, whether it is on matters of sustainability in terms of environment or in terms of socio-economic development or in terms of stability and security for the country. So there is that sort of social contract, if you will, that we need to have. We are building something. We have a project that is meaningful to all of us, to everyone in the country.
Finally, you are very much a young nation. You've got a new generation coming through, and one of the pressures which I mentioned right at the beginning is, as highlighted by the Youth for Sustainability here, is the expectations of the next generation. Yeah. They want economic development, they want wealth, but they also want a sustainable future. How are you factoring that in to the way you are running the country and the way your government is running the country?
Well, we again value them. Once you value people and you bring them to the center and say, you know what, it's not up to you to just sit back and expect that somebody else will deliver to you what needs to be delivered.
Do you feel under pressure from them?
We do a lot. We do a lot of pressure. There is a lot of pressure. But in a way, in a nice way, we push back by saying, you know what, there is something you're going to be able to contribute. Just do things the right way. And we are training people. Our young people have been trained in different areas. We have invested in that because, after all, that is the major resource the country has. And we are saying to each one of them, we say, there is what you can contribute for the general good of the whole country as well as your own self. And we are seeing that coming up. The spirit is there. And they have seen from where we have started and where we are now. And every time we keep calling upon them to participate, and they think they have come to believe in themselves, but also in working with each other as well as the government that has mobilized.
And in our last minute, the pressure now from those in the rural areas to come to urban areas, not unique to Rwanda, yes, but it's a problem in so many nations now, particularly in the developing world. How are you handling that? Because that in its own way is creating its own sustainability challenges on pollution, on water, on so many issues.
In fact, we have approached it with great success in terms of creating secondary cities. For example, there is the capital in the center of the country. We are now having about 7 to 8 cities developing from across the country in different parts of the country. So instead of everyone being drawn to the center, the capital city, actually most people are now going to these secondary cities, as well as also we encourage them to find what they can do in their actual rural settings. For example, in the development of agriculture, we have now invested heavily in development of agriculture, which has been the mainstay of the whole population. And we have brought in methods where now, from subsistence agriculture to commercial agriculture, where people now grow things and produce things, and are able to take them to the market and get money and so on. So we have demonstrated that people can still have good livelihood in rural areas as well as urban areas, and in fact feed off each other. And that has helped to solve the problem.
President Kagame, thank you very much indeed for giving us this up-to-date glimpse of what is happening in your nation. 15 minutes, but we've learned an enormous amount of how you are trying to forge and move forward in this area of innovation. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.